Good morning to you all, my dear students. Let's read out the story of the chapter which we left in our previous class, and the name of the chapter was The Summer of the White Beautiful Horse. And you remember that what we did in the story, what all we have read till this time. We got to know that this is the story of two cousins, Aram and Murad, and one day Murad came when it was early in the morning, when Aram was sleeping. Murad came with a white horse and he called up Aram, and though their family was known for their honesty and loyalty, so then Aram could not believe that he could have stolen that horse, and even he was not able to believe that he could have purchased the horse, because they belonged to a very poor family. So this was the story up till what we have left yesterday. So we'll be reading out the story further. So we left at the scene when Murad calls Aram outside for a ride on that horse. So now Aram was getting ready to move out. Let's read out further. I leaped, let me put on some clothes, I said. All right, he said, but hurry. I leaped into my clothes. I jumped down to the yard from the window and leaped up onto the horse behind my cousin Murad. So now after wearing his clothes, he has moved out and he has sat onto the horse behind his cousin Murad. That year we lived at the edge of town on Walnut Avenue. Behind our house was the country, vineyards, orchids, irrigation ditches and country roads. In less than 3 minutes we were on Olive Avenue, and then the horse began to trot. The air was new and lovely to breathe. The feel of the horse running was wonderful. My cousin Murad, who was considered one of the craziest members of our family, began to sing. I mean, he began to roar. So now here the narrator Aram says that they started for the ride, and what happened, they as they were living on the Walnut Avenue, that was the name of the place where they were living. So behind their house was a country roads, that is roads moving towards the village side. So then there were vineyards, that is a garden of grapes, and then orchids, that is a garden of fruits, that is where the fruits are grown. So then, and another thing, irrigation ditches, that is ditches which were used for doing the irrigation of those areas in which those grapes were and those fruits were. And then, and country roads, that is the roads moving towards the village side. In less than 3 minutes they reached that Olive Avenue. From that Walnut Avenue they reached to Olive Avenue, and then the horse began to trot. Trot means to run. Running is trotting. So then he started trotting, and now the air even was so lovely while they were taking the ride. They were getting the good air to breathe, and his cousin, as though everyone considered him as the craziest member, he started to sing. But he says that he was not at all singing, rather he was roaring, that is he was not good at rhythm, not good at singing. So then every family has a crazy streak in it somewhere, and my cousin Murad was considered the natural descendant of the crazy streak in our tribe. Before him was our uncle Khosrow, an enormous man with a powerful head of black hair and the largest mustache in the San Joaquin Valley. A man so furious in temper, so irritable, so impatient that he stopped anyone from talking by roaring. It is no harm, pay no attention to it. So now he says that there is some or the other crazy member in all the families, in all the tribes. So here in our tribe even there was Murad, and then Murad was a descendant of his uncle. And what was the name of his uncle? Khusro. And he has given the description of him, mustaches and all that. He was quite huge person. And then they have given the name of the place. San Joaquin Valley is the name of the place where they used to live. So then he says that he was quite impatient. He was always angry man, and his pet dialogue was to speak that was, it is no harm, no, pay no attention to it. That was his pet dialogue. Whatever comes to his way, he keeps on singing that dialogue only. That was all. No matter what anybody happened to be talking about. Once it was his own son Eric running 8 blocks to the barber shop where his father was having his mustache trimmed, to tell him their house was on fire. This man, Khosrow, sat up in the chair and roared, "It is no harm, pay no attention to it." The barber said, "But the boy says your house is on fire." So Khosrow roared, "Enough, it is no harm, I say." So now even after he got the news of his house on fire, still he commented with the same dialogue, "It is no harm, pay no attention to it." Even the barber was, shocked to see his behavior, to see his expression on that. That was all. Here we were. My cousin Murad was considered the natural descendant of this man. Although Murad's father was Zorab, who was practical and nothing else. That's how it was in our tribe. A man could be the father of his son's flesh, but that did not mean that he was also the father of his spirit. The distribution of the various kinds of spirit of our tribe had been from the beginning capricious and vagrant. So what does it capricious and vagrant means? Capricious means unpredictable and vagrant means unsettled. So here he says that their tribe has always been unpredictable, and in this case, what is this? The uncle, the man, Khusro, whom he has mentioned, he says that Murad was the natural descendant of him. That is, his personality was matching Khusro, rather than, although his father's name was Jorab, but then even he didn't have any matching personality feature with him. And moreover, he says that father can give flesh to the son, but it's not always that the personality matches with his son. So then he says that he got his personality matched with Khusro. We rode and my cousin Murad sang for all anybody knew. We were still in the old country where, at least according to some of our neighbors, we belonged. We let the horse run as long as it felt like running. At last my cousin Murad said, "Get down, I want to ride alone." So now here they were riding together, and according to their family members and according to their neighbors, they were still there in their house, as they got escaped from their house for that ride. So then finally at some point Murad says Aram to get down off the horse, and he expresses that he wants to ride alone now. Will you let me ride alone? I asked. That is up to the horse, my cousin said. Get down. The horse will let me ride, I said. We shall see, he said. Don't forget that I have a way with the horse. Well, I said, any way you have with the horse, I have also. For the sake of your safety, he said, let us hope so. Get down. All right, I said, but remember, you have got to let me try to ride alone. So now here he says that when he expressed his feeling to ride alone, in that case, I asked him that will he allow me even to ride alone? Will he allow Aram to ride alone? That is according to the narrator. So then he says that if the horse allows you, and he says that there is some particular technique of handling the horses, and which Murad claims that he has. But then even Aram says, the narrator says that even he can have the same technique, although he has this technique to get along with the horses, but he may have different technique, but still he is good at taking the horses along. So then he say, all right, I said, but remember you, yes. So then Aram makes him remind of his promise to allow him to take a ride alone. I got down and my cousin Murad kicked his heels into the horse and shouted, Wazire, run. The horse stood on his hind legs, snorted and burst into a flurry of speed that was the loveliest. So now he got down and his cousin Murad has started running the horse. Which was the loveliest scene I had ever seen. My cousin Murad raised the horse across a field of dry grass to an irrigation ditch, crossed the ditch on the horse, and 5 minutes later returned dripping wet. The sun was coming up. Now it's my turn to ride, I said. My cousin Murad got off the horse. Right, he said. After taking a ride through the ditch, he came back getting wet, and now he has given the chance to Aram to ride on the horse. I leaped to the back of the horse and for a moment knew the most awful fear imaginable. The horse did not move. Kick into his muscles, my cousin Murad said. What are you waiting for? We have got to take him back before everybody in the world is up and about. I kicked into the muscles of the horse. Once again it reared and snorted. Then it began to run. I didn't know what to do. Instead of running across the field to the irrigation ditch, the horse ran down the road to the vineyard of Dikran Halabian, where it began to leap over vines. The horse leaped over 7 vines before I fell. Then it continued running. So now he says when he started the horse, somewhere he was quite frightened as he was doing it for the first time, and that too alone. So but finally the horse started up. But in his case what happened? He didn't go through the ditch, rather he went into the vineyards, and then after spoiling 7 vineyards, so then only he stopped there when he fell down, when the narrator fell down from the horse. So then my cousin Murad came running down the road. I'm not worried about you, he shouted. We have got to get that horse. You go this way and I'll go this way. If you come upon him, be kindly, I'll be near. So now, as the horse is now out of control, So now his cousin Murad is telling him to get that horse back, because they are to move back until they are seen by others, right? So then he is suggesting him to move to the another direction for getting that horse. I continued down the road and my cousin Murad went across the field toward the irrigation ditch. It took him half an hour to find the horse and bring him back. All right, he said, jump on. The whole world is awake now. What will we do? I said. Well, he said, we'll either take him back or hide him until tomorrow morning. He didn't sound worried, and I knew he'd hide him and not take him back, not for a while at any rate. So now he says that after half an hour, Murad could find that horse back. So now he is telling Aram to hurriedly come up and sit, because they were to go back, because everyone was about to get up. It was about to be the morning. So then in that case they would be, they would be observed by someone. They would be caught by someone that yes, they have got this horse, and they would be given some punishment or so. So then in this case Aram was worried, and then he was thinking that what they should do at this point of time. So now Murad is suggesting now he will keep this horse with him only, and then if somebody is awake, so then this Aram is the narrator is quite sure that he is not going to return this horse, at least for this time. So now he says that they'll keep the horse along with them, and then will return it tomorrow morning. So now where will we hide him? I said. I know a place, he said. How long ago did you steal this horse? I said. It suddenly dawned on me that he had been taking these early morning rides for some time, and had come for me this morning only because he knew how much I longed to ride. Who said anything about stealing a horse? He said. Anyhow, I said, how long ago did you begin riding every morning? So now here Aram gets this idea that he must have been taking the rides for so many days, and now he is asking him that from where and how many long ago that he has stolen this horse. And now Murad is not admitting that he has stolen this horse. Not until this morning, he said. Are you telling the truth? I said. Of course not, he said. But if we are found out, that's what you are to say. I don't want both of us to be liars. All you know is that we started riding this morning. All right, I said. So now he says that I have not started riding this horse from this morning only, but then he says that if we are caught, then you are to say this thing only, that right from this morning, because they don't want to be of changing statements. So then he walked the horse quietly to the barn of a deserted vineyard, which at one time had been the pride of a farmer named Fetawajian. There were some oats and dry alfalfa in the barn. We began walking home. It wasn't easy, he said, to get the horse to behave so nicely. At first it wanted to run wild, but as I have told you, I have a way with a horse. I can get it to want to do anything I want it to do. So now they have placed the horse somewhere in the barn of a vineyard, which was sometime quite fruitful, but nowadays it is not at all in working condition. So they have hide the horse therein, and now he is saying that he knows the way how to control a horse. That was although not an easy job. So now they are moving towards their home. Then he says that I can Murad says that I can make all the horses do according to my choice. How do you do it? I said. I have an understanding with a horse, he said. Yes, but what sort of an understanding? I said. I asked. A simple and honest one, he said. Well, I said, I wish I knew how to reach an understanding like that with a horse. You are still a small boy, he said. When you get to be 13, you'll know how to do it. I went home and ate a hearty breakfast. So now what happens? They are towards their home. So now even Aram is quite eager to know about the understanding which Murad has with the horse. He says that he is quite a small boy for learning this kind of understanding. So now he reaches to his home and takes his breakfast. That afternoon my uncle Khusraw came to our house for coffee and cigarettes. He sat in the parlor, sipping and smoking and remembering the old country. Then another visitor arrived, a farmer named John Byro, an Assyrian who, out of loneliness, had learned to speak Armenian. My mother brought the lonely visitor coffee and tobacco, and he rolled a cigarette and sipped and smoked. And then at last, sighing sadly, he said, my white horse, which was stolen last month, is still gone. I cannot understand it. So now that afternoon, his uncle Khusraw came, and then they were taking coffee all together, and then the another person comes. And who was that person? A farmer whose name was John Byro, and who was an Assyrian, but there was no one of his tribe, so that is why he learned Armenian so that he can communicate with others, right? So then he even came to the situation, came to their place, and then he discloses that he has his horse has got stolen a month ago and he is not able to get that back. So now let's see. So now can you just reconnect it that white horse which is there with Murad might be that was his. So my uncle Khusraw became very irritated and shouted, it's no harm. What is the loss of a horse? Haven't we all lost the homeland? What is this crying over a horse? So now his uncle Khusraw is, irritating that person by his comments. He says that this is just a small loss of, getting a horse lost. Even we have lost our homeland. So now you need not to cry over a horse. That may be all right for you, a city dweller, to say, John Byro said, but what of my Surrey? What good is a Surrey without a horse? Pay no attention to it, my uncle Khusraw roared. I walked 10 miles to get here, John Byro said. You have legs, my uncle Khusraw shouted. So now here he says that what he could do with that cart. Surrey is a cart which is placed behind that horse. So now he is worried about that. So now here his uncle again tells him that pay no attention to it, which was his pet dialogue. So now he says that I have come here for, after covering 5 kilometers, and then he says that 10 miles, sorry. So then he says that don't you have legs? It's okay if you have come by feet. So then, my left leg pains me, the farmer said. Pay no attention to it, my uncle Khusro roared. That horse cost me $60, the farmer said. I spit on money, my uncle Khusro said. He got up and stalked out of the house, slamming the screen door. My mother explained. He has a gentle heart, she said. It is simply that he is homesick and such a large man. The farmer went away and I ran over to my cousin Murad's house. So now when he is just commenting on that visitor who was telling that he has lost his horse. So now even his somewhere when he says that he spits on the money for which he has got that horse. So then he even is angry, and then he leaves the place by tapping the door in anger. So then his mother runs behind him, and then he tries to make the visitor understand about the nature of Khusro. And then what happens? This Aram moves to his cousin Murad. He was sitting under a peach tree trying to repair the hurt wing of a young robin which could not fly. He was talking to the bird. What is it? He said. The farmer, John Byro, I said. He visited our house. He wants his horse. You have had it a month. I want you to promise not to take it back until I learn to ride. So now I thought that he would be reaching there with a suggestion that he should return the horse. But now look here what Aram is doing. Aram is telling Murad that don't return John Byro's horse until this Aram learns to ride. Right? So then it will take you a year to learn to ride, my cousin Murad said. We could keep the horse a year, I said. My cousin Murad leaped to his feet. What? He roared. Are you inviting a member of Gargolian family to steal? The horse must go back to its true owner. When? I said. In 6 months at the latest, he said. He threw the bird into the air. The bird tried hard, almost fell twice, but at last flew away high and straight. So now here, the bird to whom he was just taking care of, Murad was taking care of, he let that bird fly. And then in between what he was telling Aram that it will take longer time to make him learn this how to ride a horse, and it is not a good suggestion to keep the horse for such longer time, because in that case it would be a theft. Every morning for 2 weeks, my cousin Murad and I took the horse out of the barn of the deserted vineyard where we were hiding it and rode it. And every morning the horse, when it was my turn to ride alone, leaped over grapevines and small trees and threw me and ran away. Nevertheless, I hoped in time to learn to ride the way my cousin Murad rode. One morning on the way to Fetwa's Jivan's deserted vineyard, we ran into the farmer John Byro, who was on his way to town. So now every early morning what they were doing, they were taking the ride to the horse. So then the horse was again and again, dropping Aram, but he was not doing in the case of Murad. So Aram was quite enthusiastic to learn how to control the horse. So one day when they were on the way to the deserted vineyard, they saw John Byro, who was on his way to town. Let me do the talking, my cousin Murad said. I have a way with farmers. So now are you observing his pet dialogue? I have a way to handle the horses there, he said. Now he is saying that I have a way to talk. So now he is going to going further to talk to John Byro. Good morning, John Byro, my cousin Murad said to the farmer. The farmer studied the horse eagerly. When he is initiating the talk on his own and the horse is even of John Byro's, how could he do that? But still he has taken the courage and started talking to him. But John Byro could recognize that it is his horse. Good morning, son of my friends. He said, what is the name of your horse? My heart, my cousin Murad said in Armenian. A lovely name, John Byro said, for a lovely horse. I could swear it is the horse that was stolen from me many weeks ago. May I look into his mouth? Of course, Murad said. The farmer looked into the mouth of the horse, tooth for tooth. He said, I would swear it is my horse if I didn't know your parents. The fame of your family for honesty is well known to me. Yet the horse is the twin of my horse. A suspicious man would believe his eyes instead of his heart. Good day, my young friends. So now here what happens? Although he could recognize that it is his own horse, but still he could not make this thing into picture. Why? Because he thinks that they both belongs to a loyal family. So then it could not be a stealing. So then he says that it is the twin of my horse. If it would have been someone else, then I would definitely have told that this is my horse only. So now, early the following morning, we took the horse to John Byro's vineyard and put it in the barn. The dogs followed. The dogs followed us around without making a sound. The dogs, I whispered to my cousin Murad, I thought they would bark. They would at somebody else, he said, I have a way with dogs. Now here again he has used the same dialogue, I have a way with dogs. They are going to return that horse to John Byro. And now they are afraid of dogs that they would bark. My cousin Murad put his arms around the horse, pressed his nose into the horse's nose, patted it, and then we went away. So then he just gave his affection to the horse and then they left the horse at that place. That afternoon, John Byro came to our house in his surrey and showed my mother the horse that had been stolen and returned. I do not know what to think, he said. The horse is stronger than ever, better tempered too. I thank God my uncle Khusraw, who was in the parlor, became irritated and shouted, Quiet man, quiet, your horse has been returned, pay no attention to it. So now he was quite confused that what is to be done when he says John Byro came to his house for showing his mother that horse which he got back. So then again his uncle Khusraw speaks the same dialogue, pay no attention to it and to be quiet. So that was all about today's story. Rest we will do in our next class. Thank you.